Shalom, shalom. This is Yisrael ben Yahuda, and this is our biblical heritage. We are not going to waste much time today. This is lesson number 2. We're going to cover Genesis 3 and 4 chapter. The only thing I want to say is that these lessons are done at home, so if you hear the phone ring, or maybe occasionally a voice in the background, a door shut, or something like that, just know that I am at home. I'm sorry for the delay this week. I had to go out to New Orleans. I flew out to New Orleans Monday morning very early and came back Tuesday evening. So I was gone for the beginning of the week, and when I came home and put this together for Wednesday's class, then I had other things come up that I had to do, and these here lessons have to be converted. I have to listen to them. I'm trying to get them on YouTube, but when I first did the first one on YouTube, it said it was too long. But I've noticed that there are others like Pastor Dow and so forth who have 2+ hour lessons. So this lesson I did, the first one, was actually 3+ hours, so that might be beyond the max. Maybe 2 is the max, but I don't know. But I'm going to try to break it down into 2 parts and see if I cannot get it on YouTube as well. But I've also made it available on Facebook. If I have your mailing address, I'll mail it to you. If I don't have your mailing address and you give me your mailing address, I will make sure that you get a copy. And it is also on Windows Live. So you can go to my Windows Live site through what should be the link on my wall on Facebook, and it's Yisrael ben Yahuda on Facebook.com. You can find me. You can go to my wall, and on my wall you will see that there is a recording of our biblical heritage Shabbat class. It's in voice form. And like I said, I'm going to try to get this on YouTube. I extended my time. I don't know what the time limit is. It never gave me a time limit. So we'll see what happens. But in any case, getting started here. Genesis, the first chapter, in the first verse. And the Nahas was more crafty than all the lives of the field which Yahweh Elohim had made. And he said to the woman, Is it true that Elohim had said, Do not eat of every tree of the garden? Stop. I want to go right back to the beginning, to the very first paragraph, the word Nahas. And I took the liberty of dissecting Nahas for you. Nahas, if you have a strong concordance, or if you can get on the web and go to a reference of the strong concordance, the misinterpretation of Nahas to just simply a serpent actually comes from the Europeans, the English settlers, and they posted that inside the strong concordance, because you understand Christian folks actually put this concordance together at 5175. But what they do add, and this I can admire about the strong concordance, is that they usually give you the root. So they don't just give you just their opinion or the misinterpretation. They take you to the root. The root is 3 steps back, 5172, which is Tani. Tani, what you will get is a whisperer. Okay, a whisperer, and that whispers, and an enchantment that is basically practiced continuously. And I'm breaking this down in plain English. An enchantment that then ends up being practiced continuously. So an enchantment, like a hex, a magic spell. So now let me say this, that when the adversary suggests things to us, and then he has demons and spiritual forces to cause us to stray to one way or another. So when you see people, when you say they're blinded, or they can't see, or they may read something that's right there before their eyes but can't see it, or that something could happen and they can only see it in the natural, and those of us who have come under the the covenant and who have received the rock, we can see things in the spiritual. So we can look at a movie and we may see something much more deeper in the movie than the average person does, or we may even see the wickedness or the spirits behind the movie or behind the action of the human family in our neighborhood, in our street, in our home, amongst our children. And so in any case, that's called discernment. But those enchantments that are passed on and by the whisperer, okay, or the one who suggests them, okay, is an enchanter. Okay, now an enchanter isn't a serpent. Okay, an enchanter usually comes from a representative of a demonic host. Okay, a representative of a demonic host, or of Satan himself. And I say demonic host because there are different demons. So someone could come and suggest jealousy, pride, theft, murder, lust, or many other of the vices. Someone can come and suggest these things to you. Drug abuse, okay, child abuse, abuse of self, depression, and all self-esteem things are usually come through suggestions, enchantments, when people say, oh, that's all right, or try to make you feel bad about yourself. And when you're young and you're at a certain age where you're most vulnerable is usually when those enchanters are sent out, the representatives of those demonic hosts. And these can be your friends, your family, people. The adversary doesn't care who he uses, okay? And you must understand this. You must think about how many times a family member, a friend, a teacher, someone, a peer at work, or someone has brought to you something negative, or has even caused you to err behind something negative that they had suggested to you. And you may have followed up, like going to the casino to risk your money, to see if you can't make your ends meet, or lying, telling that lie that you may not have told otherwise, or to seduce where you may not have normally seduced someone, but they may have suggested seduction to you, or they may have suggested seduction to you directly as if they want to seduce you, and you succumb to that seduction. These are all when there are representatives of demonic host. And then even it gets as far as even when you when a person can't even speak with you, they may say something positive, but you hear negative, or when it leaves out their mouth one way, but you received it by the time it enters into your ears, you received it totally the opposite of what it was originally intended or delivered. And this happens too, and these are demonic hosts. So what you have to understand is that words have power, and words bring life, and they're spiritual. So now you can either bring words that build, words that are positive, words that come from the Ruach HaKodesh, words that are measured and tempered in love and shalom and righteousness and uprightness and wholesome, valuable words. Or you can get people come to you sideways with a whole bunch of foolishness, and that's just that simple. So you must understand Nahas is a very powerful in the Hebrew expression. It's talking about a person who is suggesting or whispering an enchantment. This is a demonic host, a representative of the wicked one, has no good intentions, but to cast a magic spell that not is practiced once, not is something that goes down just a single time, but that's something that will be put into play and become perpetual. It will continue, it will grow, it will flourish. And it did. It did. We see that it did. So let's move on now. I hope you can get the bigger picture now of this word. Now let me also point out to you what the true word for a serpent was, so that you would know the difference. A true word, now, like I said, first of all, backing up with you, that the word nahas, the word is nahas in the Hebrew for the word where you would see serpent, okay, or snake, maybe in some of your scriptures, okay. Now, the word for a serpent is tani, and tani is in the very end of the Hebrew dictionary 8577, which comes from the root of 8566 of the Hebrew book. Just follow me here. If you have the Strong Concordance and you went to 8577, that would give you the first reference. And then from there it would take you to the root, which is 8565, which would then take you back to another place. But here's the whole point. Then when we get here, we get what is an elongated creature, and listen to this word, preternatural. Preter. Now, I never heard of preternatural or preternaturally actually formed. Preternaturally formed. And I had to wrap my head around this here. Preternaturally formed. So that means pre would mean before. Ternaturally. So preternaturally formed, as an elongated creature. So see, this becomes contrary to what we're going to read as we move on in this third chapter. Preternaturally. So whatever its form or condition is, as a serpent, as a marine animal, as even a jackal or any other hideous land animal, is tani or tanahim in the more ancient Hebrew, but tani is fine, would be an elongated creature, marine, land, dragon, jackal, whale, elongated, huge, hideous land animal, including a snake that was preternaturally formed. In other words, it was originally designed to be a long, elongated creature. Alright? So a serpent was designed to be just what it was, a serpent. Okay? It always was on the ground, on its belly, doing what it does. See, you got to understand there's an allegoric meaning going to be laid down here. Now, we see here, and I want you to look this up. If you don't have the Strong Concordance before you right now, and you can't look this up while I am talking to you, please write down these numbers. The first of those numbers thereof is when we was dealing with Nahas. Going through it again. 5175. The root 5172. Okay, it also will mention 5173. The 5172 is the root or the Hebraic expression. Alright, and 5173. The 5175 is the misinterpretation or the European opinion of the word. Okay, now going to what the true word for a serpent should be in the Hebrew, tani or tananim. Alright, we would have to go to the root 8565 of the Hebrew, the very end of the Hebrew dictionary, about the next to the last page, to 8577. And if you will read tananim, it will tell you an elongated preternaturally. That means it originally intended to be formed, elongated creature, hideous land animal. We'll be honest, in its mode of transportation, trust me, was that it shivered along on its stomach. Now, being hideous, being considered a monster or undesirable, because we don't desire monsters, family. That I doubt that a ima, a woman, an akoti, a bayath, or a ben for that matter, son, abba, male, will want to have a conversation with a monster, a hideous creature. It's just not going to happen. I don't want to talk to a snake. I don't want to be near a snake. I don't want to be around a snake. Now, we know there's strange folks who own snakes as pets, and for some reason they like snakes. Well, you know, you have to wonder where that's coming from. Me, I don't want no snake for no pet. I don't want no snake around me or anything like that. The closest thing that you could even get me to even desire in that manner is if I have a fish tank, and inside my fish tank, amongst my, let's say, my many fish that I may have, that I may put in some of the little, let's say, eels or things of that nature that might be, if they're attractive, if they have a pretty color or something like that, and they're small. And when I mean small, 2 inches, maybe at the most 3 inches, then I may want to add that to my fish tank as an, you know, an attractive piece, along with maybe the other fish that I have, or the newts, or the things that you can get that go along with your fish tank. But that would be as far as I would go with anything like that, to be personal with you. Now, I like to have some catfish, some sharks, some other things in my fish tank, but believe me, sharks as in maybe 4, 5, 6 inch shark, you know, not anything that could bite or hurt or maim me in any way, shape, form, or fashion. So my point to you is very simply this: that would be the closest that you would ever see your aki get to the admiration of anything that we would call, or even may even consider in any way, shape, form, or fashion, a serpent or a elongated creature. But a snake, grass snake, other snake, any snake, I don't want nothing to do with it except to get it away. If it's dangerous, I'm going to try to kill it because I got kids, especially if it's on my property, or at least chase it away. If I can chase it away, that's fine. But usually they set up nests and they have children, and when they set up that nest and have children, then we have you know, where we have certain problems, because then they can multiply, and if they're rattlesnakes are poisonous or things like this nature, you definitely do not want them on your property. So with that being said, let's move on, y'all. So it says, and the Nahas was more crafty than all the lives of the field. We're in this field now. A field is a petitioned place that we talked about this last week. A field is petitioned out. This is this isn't like to say at large on your land. Even this is a plotted area, okay, which Yahweh Elohim had made. And he said to the woman, is it true that Elohim has said, do not eat of every tree of the garden? And the woman said to the Nahas, we are to eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which in the midst of the garden, Elohim has said, do not eat, do not touch it, lest ye die. Now notice, note, the tree in the midst of the garden is a particular place, a particular location. It's just like what you would say to your children, you know, down in the middle of the street, or down at the end of the street, or at the next block, or in this particular area over here. Don't go over there. Don't be over there with a corner where these particular children are practicing a certain way amongst these certain folks. And let me catch you up there at the corner. Don't let me catch you down there and on the block. Don't let me catch you over there. Alright? And you tell your children there are certain places that I don't want to see you there. I don't want to hear you as passing through. I don't want to hear or anything. If I see you anywhere around, whatever, touching it, walking through it, passing by, whatever you claim, me and you got some words. Because you're trying to separate your children, and you're trying to instruct your children and make your children understand the seriousness of how you want them to stay away from this particular. So in order for you to do that, you try to make quite clear that you don't want them to have nothing to do with this place. Don't have anything to do with this place. Stay away from it. Well, this is what you're hearing here. Listen, but the tree that's in the midst of the garden, Elohim has said, do not eat, do not touch, lest ye die. And the Nahas said to the woman, you shall not certainly die. For Elohim knows in the day that you eat of it, your eyes shall be open, and you shall be like Elohim, knowing good and evil. Now, I'm stopping here because let me point out to you, when two come together in marriage, it says that, and so-and-so knew his wife. And we know that the expression knew means that they got together, okay, and consummated, all right, knew, okay. And in another case that it may say in scripture, and they were known by them. And we know that that's a familiarity, where being to know is to be familiar, okay. And I'm pointing this out to you because when we get here in this portion of scripture, you must understand that these words that are used very specifically. So it says that, first of all, that in the day that you eat of it, your eyes shall be open, and you shall be like Elohim, knowing good, obedience, and rebellion, disobedience. Good, obedience, and evil, disobedience. You will be like Elohim. And then not only will you become familiar with obedience as well as disobedience, you can choose whether you want to be compliant or obedient or disobedient. You see, but if you don't know, you're not even familiar with, you like a puppet and you taking orders, and you just only know this one way. You never got to experience the fullness of right life, the joy of pleasure. You've never got to just let your hair down, let yourself go, just have some fun. You ever hear those suggestions before? I'm sure you have. You know, come on, man. What it gonna hurt? You just go ahead and you just come out one night with us and the fellas, and you just hang out and just let yourself go. We gonna go see some women. We gonna go have a good time. We gonna go party. What you gonna hurt, man? It ain't as if you gotta boom or you gotta do or whatever the other thing is. You just going to have some fun. You see what I'm saying? You ever hear them kind of suggestions? Or you just gonna go and you could just spend $30, or you could just try a little bit. Or we ain't gonna do nothing but kiss. You see what I'm saying? Now, I know that you've heard these things, and the whole thing is, let me open the door. If I can get to kiss, if I can get you to taste it, if I can get you to just come, if I can expose you, I'm gonna say it again. If I can just expose you, sound, you understand? See, such is life, but we're using allegoric expressions here. And Yahweh says the day that you expose yourself to this rebellion, to this disobedience, is the day you're going to be cut off. It's the day you surely going to be cut off. You see what I'm saying? From the rivers of living water, from the source of life, from your Elohim, your power, your strength. The day that you do these things, you expose yourself to this rebellion, you're gonna be cut off. You will surely die. Now, as we move on through this, family, did Adam and Eve suffer a physical death at the end of this, after the judgments were pronounced, after everything went down? Did Adam live 900 and something years? It don't speak of how long Hawa or Eve lived. It doesn't say that. But we know Adam lived 900, I believe it was, and something years, or if it ain't 9, we're going to find out. 700 and something years. I don't care. He lived over 100 years, 200 years, over 300 years, over 400 years, over 500 years he lived after this. Now, I don't sound like somebody surely dying to me. Hawa had children, y'all. She went on to be a fruitful Bayeth. Now that take 9 months from the time of the action in the first place. And then she did it again, and she did it again. She had Seth, or as you call Seth, after that. And she had other children, sons and daughters. She was fruitful. And I'm saying this in advance, so she didn't surely die. Her womb was producing. I mean, I think that's life. So what is the death then? Cut off, man. Whether you realize it, if you turn your back on Yah and you become cut off, if you don't recognize, or if you can't feel the separation, that you are separated from the source of the living water, if you can't feel the separation from the ruach, from the anointing, as they say in the Christian church, from the presence, that you can't feel the ruach hakodesh upon you, that you can't feel the power of Elohim and flowing through you, the dreams, the visions, the discernment, and all the other things that Elohim empowers us with. If you can't feel the separation from the source of life, I don't know if you was ever living, but you will feel the difference between life and living under those circumstances. And what it is when you're in compliance and you're in harmony with Yah, and you feel the joy, the shalom, the confidence, the surety, and the protection, and all the things that Yahweh affords us, actually. But anyway, so continuing on here, if you notice that in verse 5 it says, for Elohim knows that in the day that you eat thereof, your eyes shall be open, and you shall be like Elohim, knowing good and evil. See, you be like Elohim because you have took on the prerogative of Elohim. You took on the prerogative. Verse 6, and the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes. Now here's the part: pleasant to the eyes, and the tree desirable to make one wise. That's the number 2. And she took of its fruit and ate, and she also gave to her husband with her, and he ate. Now I want you to think about this. The whole time this conversation is going on between the Nahas and Hawa and Eve. But you mean to tell me Adam's right there and he ain't having no conversation? Or why is it that it gives you the expression, it gives you the opinion or the suggestion to you as if that her husband, or that Adam's right there and she just turned around after she took a bite and said, here, you take a bite too. Because this is a suggestion that we're getting in this interpretation. Because I'm here to tell you that Hawa was there alone. She was having this conversation. She was the one who first receives this enchantment. She's the one who first succumbs and is seduced. Then when she turns back to her husband, when she leaves from where she shouldn't have wandered off to in the beginning, you're all. Because that's what happens. She wanders off. And that's the thing. So, he said to her in the midst of the garden, he gave her a direction. He said, here, in this particular area, over there, down the block, 2 streets over, on the corner. When you tell your children where you don't want them to be, you tell them specifically, don't go down to the playground over there. I don't want you over there at that playground, because it's bad. I don't want you on that block, because it's bad. Don't be up on the corner, because it's bad. Better not catch you on whatever street, because it ain't happening. You say specifically, you point out an area that you would not want your children to wander off in. It could be just down the block where the Parkers live. I don't know, but you will give instructions that there is just a partition, a place that you have denied them the rights to expose themselves to. And you usually do that and explain that there's consequences and repercussions if they do. And we who grew up in the cities, and we who grew up in the hood and things of this nature, we know what that is. We know what that is. There was places we just couldn't go. There was streets we couldn't go. There was blocks we didn't deal with. There were houses and people and so forth we just had to avoid, and usually at the instruction of our guardians, our parents, our grandparents. Even sometimes those instructions came from others, because we may, you may have where your uncle or your aunt come in with some wisdom that maybe your father and your mama wasn't privy to, and then they may spread it to give it to your father and your mother, and then at the same time come directly to you and say, as an uncle and as an aunt, and say, hey, I don't want to see you over there messing with. You see what I mean? Your perimeters are set up. They're set up. And then the consequences are pronounced to you. If I see you over there, you see, so come on now. That's the problem. We've been religified. We've been blinded. Let's open our eyes. Let's open our eyes and see these things for what they are, okay? So now, it gives the suggestion as though Adam's there. Adam don't have no conversation though. And would that make sense to you? So what she does is, after she had went and she herself indulged, she went back and she then confided in Adam that she had did it, or in other words, she disobeyed the Most High, and that she had went to the midst of the garden, that she touched and she was amongst that she shouldn't, with the knowledge of good and obedience, or in other words, of obedience and rebellion, disobedience. She went amongst those of the obedient and disobedient, that know of obedience and disobedience, who have the knowledge of obedience and disobedience, good and evil, and that she did some deeds. Now, here's the thing I want to say to you. If you find out, if sometimes when, let's say, some of the siblings, the children, you got a few children, and a couple of them children say, hey man, I went down the block, I was on the corner, I went where mom or dad told me not to go. And they say, oh, you gonna be in trouble. You better not say nothing. Don't you tell mom and dad. Don't say nothing. You don't know nothing about this. Just don't say nothing, this, that, and other thing. Man, I'm telling, no, don't say nothing. I'll do Don't say nothing. And then you go down with the conspiracy. You co-sign, you go down, you down now. You say, okay, I'm not gonna tell mom and dad. I'm gonna withhold this deed, this violation. I'm gonna come down. I'm gonna jump in the conspiracy. I'm gonna conspire with you to withhold from mom and dad what you doing. That you went and you did the thing that you shouldn't do. All right, and that you have you did the misdeed. I have to take a short break. I'll be right back. Okay, verse 7. Now then, the eyes of both of them were open, and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together and made loin coverings for themselves. Now, I want you to mock this thought. They sewed fig leaves together. And I had a fig tree, and I don't know how they did that, but in any case, they sewed fig leaves together and made loin coverings for themselves. Now, you got that. Remember that. Make a note of that. Let's go on to verse 8 and 9. And they heard the voice of Yahweh Elohim walking about in the garden in the cool of the day. And Adam and his wife hid themselves from the presence of Yahweh Elohim among the trees of the garden. They hid among the trees of the garden. Second note. And Yahweh called unto Adam and said to him, Where are you? And he heard, verse 10, I heard your voice in the garden, and I was afraid, fearful, because I was naked, so I hid myself. Stop. You heard what he just said? I was afraid because I was naked, so I hid myself. Now they just sewed fig leaves together and covered themselves, so they were no longer exposed if they were physically naked. Alright? But yet, because I was naked, I hid myself, even though I sewed fig leaves together to cover myself. So either you're naked or you're not. You following me? I want you to really see. You have to critically look through these scriptures. You have to take the time and note what's being said, because see, the religious community sold you something different. So now what I'm doing here is I'm trying to piece by piece put the puzzle back together in its proper form. We can't just fit pieces in any way we like to. We're not twisting scripture here. We are actually going line by line, and we're looking at this thing and we're seeing what makes sense, what doesn't make sense, what is what is the point of what's being said. Okay, so now if you go back to verse 7, it says, Then the eyes of both of them were open, and they knew that they were naked, exposed, and they sewed together fig leaves. Fig leaves are a native fruit, also became native to Yisrael. If you remember, the Messiah saw a fig tree, wanted some figs, was no figs, he cursed that tree, and the tree withered away. And if you remember that, okay, so in other words, because the fig tree was unproductive. The fig tree is also used in an allegoric expression in Zechariah, and also to point to the fact that it is the native tree of the Hebrew, or the children of Yisrael. Okay, excuse me, I'm drinking some beverage here. So the point is that is being mentioned to you is that they're exposed, and their exposure has nothing to do with nudity, y'all. They're exposed because they're feeling the weight of the guilt of the fact that they now had rebelled, disobeyed the instructions that were given them. And because they disobeyed, then they hid themselves amongst the others. And then, even with the weight of their guilt, finally Adam comes out But he confesses that he hid himself because he was exposed. Okay? Then in verse 11 it says, and he said, who made you to know that you were naked? Or for what reason are you exposed? Have you eaten of the tree of which I commanded you that you should not eat? You would say to your children, did you go and you went around the block to the corner, 3 streets up to the playground, or wherever it is that you told your children? Did you break my instructions? Did you disregard my instructions and you went over there anyway? You exposed yourself anyway? Okay. And the man said, the woman whom you gave to be with me, she gave me of the tree, and I ate. She's the one who told me to expose myself. And Yahweh said to the woman, what is this that you have done? And the woman said, the Nahas deceived me, and I ate. And Yahweh said to the Nahas, going back to the source, because you have done this, you are cursed more than all the livestock and more than every beast of the field. On your belly you are to go, and eat the dust all the day of your life, or eat of the dirt of the ground, the dust, all the days of your life. I'm going to stop for a minute. The adversary was cast down to the earth. It's talking about the serpent eating of the earth. Now, serpents eat mice. Serpents eat small, creepy things that they get hold of, depending on the size of the serpent, because we got some big serpents or snakes, and they might eat something bigger. But they are carnivores by nature, and they eat creeping things and things of this nature commonly. Okay? And that's why some are venomous, and some of them have certain attributes where they trap and sneak up on their prey. And of course they also have access. They go in and they'll take of the young or of the eggs or whatever the case is, but they're carnivorous. Okay, so they don't eat of the dust of the ground. They don't eat dirt. Worms eat dirt or processed soil, but snakes don't process soil or dirt or dust of the ground. So you ain't going to eat of the dust of the ground. That's 2 plus 2. This is when you're critically thinking, when you're evaluating the information that's presented to you. Okay? Now, you could go to a pet store, or you could do some research and find out what is the food of the common snake or whatever, and you will find that they are carnivorous. Okay? And that's anything from insects to mice to bigger animals, depending on the size, including you. you get anaconda, a boa stricta, animal big enough to crush you up and eat you, eat your children. You know, and I'm just telling you straight up, that's what they do. So now this here eating of the soil basically is not what it's saying. It's not. It's an allegoric expression being given here. Okay? It's not talking about a serpent eating of the dirt. Okay? What it's saying to you is, or the allegoric expression is, that you are now demoted. You are cast down to the earth. Okay? How Satan's cast down to the earth. Okay? He's bound to the earth now. He has no more access to the celestial, the heavenly realm. He can't go to the third heavens no more. The door locked. He don't have a pass. His passport's revoked. Whatever, however you want to see it or understand it, he's revoked. His access is revoked, and he is bound here amongst us. That's where Satan, the fallen ones, the Nephilim, are bound. Here. Okay? So this is what you gotta understand. dust is in the air right now. I'm breathing dust. You're breathing dust wherever you may be. If you could shine a light the right way in a dark spot and get a little beam of light, you'll see thousands, or really millions and probably billions of dust particles floating in the air. Just can't help it. You ever I let my ceiling fan run so long, and then I got to dust that thing off. It'd be full of dust just from moving around in the air. You change filters in your air conditioning, your heating system. You open it up and the filter is full of dust that is collected from running. So you got to clean the dust out of the filter. Under your refrigerator, on your furniture, so forth and so on, because and that same dust that you're cleaning from everything is dust you're breathing, because you are on this earth. You're bound to this earth, and it's full of dust. It's all up in the air. Bound to the earth. You following me? Allegoric expressions. Now, cursed. The adversary's been cursed. You understand? Now listen to what it says, because something uniquely, and I'm going to make this unique too. Still talking to Nahas, still talking to the adversary, mind you. And I put enemy between you and the woman, and between your seed, whose seed? Nahas' seed, and her seed. Woman ain't got no seed, y'all. Woman ain't got no seed. Man carry the seed. So the woman, though, this particular woman, Eve, Hawa, came directly bone of bone, flesh of flesh of Adam, taken from his side. So when it says here, from her seed, what it means is from Adam's seed, but from the seed now that she is carrying. She is in the point of conception. She has how would I put it to you? They got married, Adam and Hawa got married, and when they got married and consummated, he passed on the seed. Coincidentally now, this here Nahas also passed on the seed somewhere. He passed on the seed somewhere. So, because it speaks of, he's talking to Nahas and about Nahas' seed. Now we know Adam married her, it became his wife. He passed on the seed. There's another seed passed on here. Who is it passed on to? She was seduced. She received 2 seeds, y'all. Now you can believe what you want. I'm right here. I'm having you read, and you tell me, and I'm going to say to you again, if you read verse 15, don't take my words. I'm not trying to twist the scripture. I want you to try my words. But read what it says. And I put enemy between you, Nahas, and the woman. You're going to become adversary towards one another. And between your seed, who? Nahas' seed, and her seed. She don't have none. He shall crush your head, who? Her seed, and you shall crush her heel, his heel. To the woman he said, I greatly increase your sorrow in your conception. You shall bring forth children in what? In pain. The children that you have, you're going to bring them forth in pain. And your desire is for your husband. In other words, you are to submit, or your husband will have dominion or rule over you, to serve your husband. You hear this? That's right, y'all. And he shall rule over you. Now, any woman on this planet, Hebrew or not, whatever attitude you've got or not, your service is to your husband. And when you are not as a servant, you are not like the Messiah when he put on the apron and he washed the students' feet and showed humility. You are to have that humility towards your husband, to serve him, to make sure that that you deal with him, that you care for him, that you do the things that are desirable to please him, and that you honor him as your head, because he has rulership over you, not oppression over you, not abuse over you, not neglect over you. not to hold you in contempt and all these things in an abusive, negative fashion. There's no negative in the kingdom of Yah, but there's order, and this is order being set here. This is order. The order goes from the Father to the Messiah to the Melachim to the man who receives from the Melachim, by the way, to the woman, to the children, order. And I didn't leave the Melachim out. I wasn't leaving them out. Ruach HaKodesh, the set apart spirit of Yah, the Melachim function in the spiritual as the set apart spirit of Yah. The angels themselves are set apart sons of Yah. What was Yahoshua? One like Elohim? We're going to get into that as we move on. But you must understand, there's an order to the kingdom. This is a kingdom. It's structured. It's a government. You part of the kingdom. You was born into the kingdom of Yah. That's your blood. Now, the European monarchy has order and structure. And when they have children, them children are born into that structure. And they are raised up to comply within that structure of their so-called worldly, earthly kingdom. And that's in the president's house, the governor's house, so forth and so on. This order is passed on. The senator's house, the congressman's house, the dean's house, the judge's house. And we can go on with this thing, but you know what I'm saying. They all represent certain government or authorities, and the number of authorities tried their very best to manage their houses, their family, and so forth in a particular order. You are of the kingdom of Yah. You are of the family of Yah. And there's a particular order that you function in. Me too. I'm a child. I'm forever, perpetually a child. I'm subordinate to the kingdom forever. There's rulership over me. The Messiah rules over me. Yahweh rules over me. The Melachim, they serve me, but they also come in the capacity to guide, direct me, to counsel me. And I have to comply, as long as this, whatever they bring, is in harmony with the Torah and the prophets. Now, if some Melachim angel came to me contrary to the will of the Most High, contrary to Torah, contrary to the prophets, now I ain't gonna pay him no attention. There's order. This is the kingdom, and that's how it functions, y'all. So what you then have to do is you have to now reorganize your thoughts, your frame of reference. You have to understand things in their proper sequence. And this is a very important thing. See, this foundation got to be laid. See, I'm going to tell you right now, this is the foundation. Why are we going and we're starting from Genesis 1 and 2 and Genesis 3 and 4? Foundation. Foundation. If we're going to move on in the kingdom of Yah, if we're going to function in the kingdom of Yah, if we're going to be of the kingdom of Yah, we got to have a foundation laid. Yah laid this foundation. The problem is there were cracks put in the foundation. The foundation wasn't laid evenly and properly when we were brought up in this Hellenistic society. So now here we are, and we have to go back and we have to repair the foundation. And this is it. This is foundational stuff. This is the stuff you must get straight and organized in your mind in order for you to move forward. And that's just the way it is. So it says here, as we move on, and as the notes I gave you, now Nahas, what Nahas was, the other notes I gave you was about the eyes being open and knowing of obedience and of rebellion or disobedience. We moved on and we talked about that she was separated at this time from her husband, that the tree was desirable to make one wise, okay, and she took of this. All right. Now we know that she was seduced into this. Okay. We know that there was a enchantment, a suggestion, and she fell under this suggestion. We move on in verse 7, and we see that the eyes were open, that then they covet themselves. This is where the conspiracy goes down. And then when Elohim comes to them, and what do? That they hide themselves amongst the trees. And the first deduction that then happens is, and moving on through this, and I'm going through these things just to bring these things back to your remembrance. And the first deduction is that did you disobey? Okay, not that, and there was no death sentence passed here. Then we went on and we see that as Yah first said to the woman, what is this that you have done? Then he went and he turned his attention to the adversary, to the Nahas, and he goes on and he first pronounces certain things against the Nahas. And one of those things is, I shall put enemy between you and the woman, and between your seed and her seed. Okay. Verse 16. To the woman he said, I greatly increase your conception, birth pains. Okay. And that you are to be under your husband, that you are to be subordinate to your husband, and that he has rulership over you. Verse 17. And to the man he said, we ain't get away with nothing, y'all, because you have listened to the voice of your wife, and have eaten of the tree which I commanded you, saying, do not eat thereof, curses the ground because of you. And toil you are to eat of it all the days of your life. The ground shall bring forth thorns and thistles. These are setbacks. These are pricks and hurtful, painful things, and so forth. The toil of life, as we say. And in other words, you will have to labor, and you would have to put forth effort, strenuous effort, to provide. Yah's the provider. He was making this easy. Put him in a place, everything was there. Now that's going to change. By the sweat of your face are you to eat bread until you return to the ground, and out of it you were taken. From the dust you are to, and to the dust you are to return. And we know that it ain't dust as in what's flying around in the air, y'all, but the soil. And to the man, and the man called his wife's name Hawa, because she became, and it says here, the mother of all living. That's not really what Hawa says. If I take you back to Eve, it does not say the mother of all living. And that's the thing that, I'm gonna look it up for you while I'm talking to you here, because I should have wrote that note in advance. But see, these are the problems. It doesn't say that, and in the Hebrew, that's not what the word means. And I'm gonna take you here so I can read to you exactly what the word means. I don't want to paraphrase or anything like that. Of course, I can do these things, but sometimes I like to just read it for what it says. So let's go. I'm almost there. Just give me a second here. Got to turn back just a little further here. Okay, if you give me a second. All right. And it is 2332 of the Hebrew Dictionary. 2332 Hebrew Dictionary. 2332. Okay? Once again, if you didn't hear me, 2332. I'm turning there right now. 2332. Okay, let me back up here. And the reason I'm doing this is because these things, Shavah, okay? Alright, and there's no V, so it's not Shavah, okay, as they say. Life giver, alright, life giving, Okay? But primarily, life giver. Life giver, or the bearer of life. And all imas, all bayeth, you are the vessel of life. You bring forth the life. The seed's planted in you, it takes root in you. The child is put together in you over the 9-month period, and then you bring that life out. You get into the world. You are the bearer of that life. Life giver, not the mother of all living. See, when we say the mother of all living, the implication is of all of mankind. See, that's the twist. Life giver just means that simply that she's a woman, she has a womb, that a seed's planted in the womb, and she brings forth life. See, that's a whole different thing. And I want to express that point because, again, the adversary, the devil, deceiveth the whole world. And we have to get the proper understandings of these little things that have been twisted for so long. They got to get untwisted, y'all. We got to untwist these things, because these simple words, these simple understandings in the foundation of things mess up everything that comes after it. If you don't have the proper of this, then everything after this, your whole thought processes are set off in a whole total wrong direction. You have you have a miscalculation. You can't come to the right conclusions. And that's why it's important. Life giver, bayeth, bearer of life. Not mother of all living. So, what the creationists and religion are trying to do, and many of us Hebrews, is try to say that Adam is the first man on the whole planet, ain't nobody else. And the trees are just trees. The fruit is just the fruit. And it's just a simple command not to eat something. This is deeper than that. And we see that this is deeper than that just by you going through the process with me as you went through. And I'm going to point this out to you again so that we don't lose track of the process. Verse 15 is the keys to your understanding. And I put enemy between you and the woman, and between your seed, who the serpent seed, or Nahas seed, and her seed. Keys, keys, keys. 2 seeds. The woman has a seed that belongs to Adam, and then the serpent has a seed as well. The seeds are in the same vessel, y'all. And that's the deal. Verse 21. And Yahweh Elohim made a coat of skin for the man and his wife, and dressed them. And Yahweh Elohim said, see, the man has become like one of us, to know good and evil. Now lest we put out our hand and take also of the tree of life, and he eat and live forever. And Yahweh Elohim sent him out of the Garden of Eden to till the ground from which he was taken. And he drove the man out, and he placed a cherub at the east of the Garden of Eden, and a flaming sword which turned every way, to protect the way of the tree of life. He's cut off. Cut off. Cut off. Now, what's this coat of skin, y'all? Because let me tell you something. I'm going to back you up a little bit. When he made Adam and he made Eve, trust me, he made them intelligent. He made them intelligent, and they knew how to make material, to take from the materials, whatever it was. And I'm gonna go here with you before you use weed smokers. I'm just saying this just to be funny. Could take the hemp stems, make some thread. I've seen it done. That's why I'm even going there, because certain things I've seen. So I'm speaking of what I see. I'm sure you could use some flax. I'm sure you can go grab the cotton or many other things. It's only that I've seen that done Even when I was a child, I seen that done. My grandfather used to do certain things, my uncles and so forth. I just seen it done, so I know that it threads pretty easily. My point is simply this. And then they could make some thread. They could weave some things together, because Yah gave us intelligence. Look how through anthropology we can go back and we can see how they made coverings for themselves, how they made clothes for themselves, how they made tools, bowls, how they made vessels and houses and dug wells and irrigation and so forth for thousands and thousands of years. You see what I'm saying? So we going back 12, 15, even to say 25,000 years. Well, they were doing that, y'all. So Adam and Eve were the dumb ones. They didn't know how to do none of that. They were walking around naked. Didn't know nothing. They just walking around just blank, right? Y'all ain't gonna do that. Come on, y'all. So the nakedness and these are symbolic. Even the coat of skin, of flesh is the key of what you have to understand here. So what does it say that Yah did? It says in verse 21, and Yahweh Elohim made coats of flesh for the man and his wife and dressed them. Okay, so that's what happened. Now, he ain't wearing no leather neither. He ain't mess around and gave them leather gear, leather outfits. Alright, what it means is that now by their wits, carnality, fleshly, being human and alive, that he covered them, he forgave them, had mercy. See, mercy abound, grace abound from the beginning. Mercy and forgiveness of Yah, whose mercy is forever, is eternal. His grace and his love is now being shown here to the flesh. Okay. Symbolic. Get deep, y'all. Get deep. Now what, they gonna have leather outfits on? That's all. They had some leather gear, right? Okay. It says coats of skin. It didn't say took of the how I put it, of the covering, or of the wool, or of the fur. It says skin, flesh. I'm just making sure you got me. Verse 22. And Yahweh Elohim said, see, the man has become like one of us. Right? Just listen to it. Become like one of us. In other words, now he has been exposed to obedience, compliance, and to rebellion, disobedience. Alright? And he has took on the prerogative of Elohim. Alright? And that's what we do when we disobey. We take on the prerogative. Alright? Now he's cut off. So he's sent out. The way is protected from him. Or he's isolated for a time. We're headed into the fourth chapter. This is a dark time now. Now you done went out there and did the deed. You know, broke up. You done turned your back on Yah. Now you isolated and alone and all fleshly out. And now it's time that when you in your isolation, cut off, now you have to prove yourself. You got to get your way back, recover. You following me? Chapter 4. And Adam knew Hawa and his wife, Hawa his wife, and she conceived and bore Cain says Adam did this. Now, and I said, I have gained a man, Yahweh. I have gained a man, Yahweh. And again, she gave birth to his brother, Abel, Hebel, and Abel became a keeper of the sheep, but Cain became a tiller of the ground. And it came to be, now notice, tiller of the ground, right, keeper and a herder, or a sheep herder. He's the keeper of the sheep. Tiller of the ground, what was pronounced against Adam. And it came to be in the course of time. Now, let me stop. See, I tried this. I was going to slip in and move on. And because I'm trying to make this lesson short, but I can't. Cain is doing the occupation that the curse that's pronounced on Adam is to till the ground, the soil and the sweat and so forth, and to labor to eat. But it's Cain who's now receives this occupation. So this cursed occupation is passed on to him. Meanwhile, Abel has this other occupation, the raising and caring of the sheep. The shepherd. He's the shepherd. You get it? The good shepherd. The shepherd of the flock. That cares for the flock, washes the flock, trains the flock, feeds the flock. A shepherd. So many times that the ones who pass on the word of Yah, that the elders that's put over the congregations, the ones that try to point and lead you to truth, are called the shepherds. The shepherds. And Yah gives commandments. He says, feed my sheep, care for my sheep. Right? He says that I will give you shepherds after my own heart, and they will lead you, they will guide you, they'll protect you. The shepherd and the tiller of the ground. I was gonna pass it over easy, but I couldn't. So you got to see these things. These are for you. This is the foundation. Again, I'm gonna keep saying it to you till you get it. The foundation being laid. Now, what happens is, like, I almost took for granted that you was going to get it if I made it short, so I wanted to break it down so that it ain't short. But see, what happens is that the adversary's counting on you missing this. He's counting on you missing these things. He's counting on you not picking up none of these things that I'm passing on to you right now. He's counting on it. He's trained up millions to lead you astray. Millions. He's got an army of deceivers out there to point you in another direction. Here we go. You with me? So you see, right? So now let's move on and see what it says. And it came to be in the course of time that Cain brought an offering of fruit of the ground to Yahweh. Now Yahweh does take, and he even asked for the things that we grow from the ground, y'all. And Abel also brought of the firstborn of his flock and of their fat. And Yahweh looked upon Abel and his offering, but he did not look to Cain and his offering. And Cain was angry, and his face fell. He is occupation of the curse. And Yahweh said to Cain, why is it that you are angry towards you? You're angry towards you. And why is your face fallen? Is it not, if you do good, if you comply, if you obey, you are to be accepted? And if you do not good, if you disobey, if you rebel, towards the door is a sin. He is lying, and towards you is his desire, and you must rule over the rebellion, the sin, the wickedness. And Cain told Abel his brother, and it came to be when they were in the field that Cain rose up against Abel his brother and killed him. Murder. Now y'all already said he was wicked. Y'all already told you this right before the murder happens. He's got the cursed occupation. Everything along the way is telling you this is the son of Ha-Satan, who rises up against the son of Adam, seed against seed. Y'all already told you that in the 3rd chapter before you came into the 4th chapter. And the wicked seed, that is definitely wicked, rise up against the righteous seed, the shepherd, and kills the shepherd. The Messiah, the shepherd. How many of our fathers, the shepherd, have been killed, murdered, prophets stoned, beheaded? Are you all getting this? Are you getting it? The foundation. This is why we're going through this. Because, see, a foundation has to be laid. We got to see this for what it is. We can't see this in that religious, philosophical foolishness that you had before. You got to see it. Verse 9, and Yahweh said to Cain, where is Abel your brother? And he said, I do not know. Am I my brother's keeper or protector? And he said, what have you done? The voice of your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground. And now you are cursed from the earth, which has opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. If you till the ground, it shall no longer yield its strength to you. You shall be a fugitive and a wanderer on the earth. A fugitive is a wanted man. A wanted man. And a wanderer on the earth. And Cain said to Yahweh, my punishment is great to bear. See, you have driven me from the face of the ground today, and I am hidden from your face, I'm cut off, and I shall be a fugitive and a wanderer on the earth. And it shall be that anyone who finds me kills me. And Yahweh said to him, well, if anyone killed Cain, vengeance is to be taken on him sevenfold. And Yahweh set a sign upon Cain, lest anyone finding him strike him. So Cain went out from the presence of Yahweh cut off, and dwelled in the land of Nod in the east of Eden. Now, I'm going to go a step further. A mock. What do you think? He put a little hickey on him? A blemish. Maybe put a dent in his forehead or something. A humpback. What you think this mock was, y'all? The loss of melanin is also another curse. It is. The sun come down on you, boy. You ain't got no melanin. Boils and blisters and burning. So now it's hard for you to be able to go out there and work the ground and the sun and the heat. Because if you go out there and work the ground and the sun and the heat, what's going to happen? Burn up. So now you have to do something else. You become a hunter. Now you are more carnivorous than you was before. You ain't, planting no tomatoes and doing all that. You getting you some wild game. You're very carnivorous. You have to live as a carnivorous person. That don't mean you don't get the fruit from the trees and what you find growing along the way. But you ain't going to plot out a field, till it up, irrigate it, and take care of it, because you can't. You ain't got no melanin. You can't do it. So you have become, now your occupation changes. You become so carnivorous. You count on catching the wild game, y'all. That don't have nothing to do with flesh eaters, y'all. So that's why it's cursed to eat flesh. No. But what I'm saying to you is simply this: 2 plus 2 is 4, because we get ready to come up to a hunter pretty soon. There's going to be a hunter, and this hunter is going to be an adversary against the Most High. This hunter is going to be someone who raises himself up to the prerogative of the Most High. He becomes a deity on the earth. He becomes a god, as they like to say, on the earth, a Elohim, so to speak, as foolish as that is. And he's a hunter. A hunter. The occupation of his father is carried on. And I'm pointing this out to you from giving you the first hunter, who now lost his melanin. Can't be out there in the field. See, you in the field, you can't put the field up under some trees, y'all. You know, if too much shade, you ain't growing nothing. Need some sunlight. Got to be open and exposed to the light from the heavens, from the luminaries. Back then, they can't do all that farming in the dark. Can't see. So, you know, and you say, well, he could do it at night. No, he can't. So what's left? But to be a hunter. He's cut off. He becomes a fugitive. In other words, he can't be around his people. He just killed Adam's son. So he's banished. Now he's got to go find a new home. You with me? You following me? He's cut off. Not only, he's not just cut off from Yah, he's cut off from his family. He killed a member of the community. He destroyed a life. So you see this is foundation. Foundation. He loses his melanin. It's counterproductive for him to be out there in the sun now. Yeah, he could put on a lot of covering and clothes and stuff and cover himself up, put something on his head and all this other stuff to shade himself and get out there, cover his arms up and die of heat stroke. Counterproductive, y'all. You with me? Are you understanding? Are you starting to see the pieces was putting the puzzle back together properly for y'all? The scripture ain't complicated. It really isn't. The problem is we've been sold a bill of goods that just ain't about nothing. Yah gives us all the hints. He gives us all the clues. We just don't see it. Verse 12 in the 4th chapter. If you till the ground, it shall no longer yield its strength to you. You should be a fugitive and a wanderer on the earth. Now, if you're a fugitive and a wanderer, you ain't staying in one place too long to even grow nothing in the first place. Hunter. 14. See, you have driven me from the mock he receives. Right? Verse 15 and 16. He moves to a place east of Eden, land of Nod. Verse 17. And Cain knew his wife. Now where you get the wife from, y'all? He got the wife because there's other people. He got the wife because there's other people. When he went to Nod, there were people in Nod. When he got to Nod, there was already a place, an area, a land that had a name, Nod. It was east of Eden, and when he got to Nod, there were people there. He found a wife. He's out around India, y'all. Contrary to popular belief. East of Eden. Gets a wife. You following me? Because there's people there. She conceives and bores Hanuk. And he built a city and called the name of the city after the name Hanuk. Hanuk was born in Arad. Arad brought forth, and we go on from there. You see children and children and children. And then one of his sons takes a wife. He does what his dad does and commits a murder. You can read the rest of this for yourself, y'all. You can read the rest of this for yourself. I don't have to finish the fourth chapter. I want you to finish the fourth chapter. And what happens is, when we come back, I'm going to refresh the fourth chapter with only the verse that I am concerned with is the 26th verse. The rest of this I want you to read for yourself. It goes on to tell you about the population, or the the line of Cain coming up, his children, his sons and his daughters. Alright? And it takes a small few paragraphs that talks about the line of Cain. At the end of it, we go back to talk about the lineage of Adam. So I told you I'll make it short. That's as short as I can make it. Foundation. Now we're going to stick with Genesis. We're going into Genesis 5 and 6, which are pivotal, very important when we start going through 5 and 6. They're important. There's some things that you need some enlightenment and some clarity that we're going to bring back there. So Shabbat, I will record like I've recorded this, and it's going to be longer, I'm sure. It's the Shabbat, and when it's the Shabbat, believe me, we get knee deep. So hallelujah, I love the Shabbat, actually, and I can't wait. But anyway, so I sure hope that I was able to provoke you to dig, to provoke you to research. Try my words, y'all. Try them. Okay? You must try my words. You must seek. You must dig. You must pray. You must do those things. You must ask. You must trust Yahweh. Okay? Alright. So with that, just know that I leave you as I greeted you in Shalom, Ahava, love to my family. And I really just thank you for the privilege to serve, the privilege of being able to share with you all. You don't know, that's a privilege, it's a blessing for me to just be able to do that, to be able to just reach out and share the things that, the blessings that I received, that someone shared with me, that Yah had shared with me. Because a lot of these things I share with you, believe it or not, Yah opened up my eyes. It's direct and personal. I ain't even have an elder tell me plenty of these things. Some of these things, yes, but plenty of these things, Yah just brought it to my attention. He opened my eyes, and I received it. So your eyes have to be open so that you can receive. If you will receive what you see, that's the deal. Because everybody can't receive this, y'all, and that's just the way it is. So, with that, Shalom, Ahava.